gonna be a very fun video because I'm doing another tackling my TBR video, but with a little bit of a baby twist, because I know that a lot of people do monthly TBR videos and they use their TBR jar. I really want to do that, but I am an atmospheric and mood reader, so if I were to pick a monthly TBR at the beginning of the month, I don't think I would stick to it. And I also think that if I were to pick one, then I probably wouldn't rate the books as accurately as I would if I were in the mood to read them. I thought today we could do a tackling my TBR video with a TBR jar. I don't have a jar, but I do have my fun, this is my annotating mug actually. I have all of my pens and my annotating supplies and my reading light in here. I dumped out all the annotating stuff and it's currently on my bed, but I thought it would be fun to use this as my little TBR jar. And I do have all of my prompts sitting here. I wanted to put them in with you guys, so here we go. I did them all, oh my gosh, on sticky notes, and then I realized since they were all on sticky notes that one side was of course sticky, so I had to rewrite most of them and put them all, oh, I didn't think this through because it's actually quite full, which is good. This is good. I think I have at least like, I don't know, 10. So let's mix them all up and let's pick our first one. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. So I think the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna try and do it as efficiently as possible, and I'm gonna pick all the prompts now and then also pick all the books now. So I have all the books lined up, which is a little scary for me, but it's okay, it's fine. Let's start. I mixed all of them together, they're all mixed. So first one is, oh, this is so fun. A book over 500 pages. And I vowed to myself when I wrote this one down, I had a book in mind, and it's a little scary because it's just so thick. But okay, for a book over 500 pages, I said if I were to get that book, I'm going to read When the Moon Hatched because this is indeed a thick book. It is definitely over 500 pages. How many pages is it? Oh my gosh. 690 pages in this book, which is well over 500. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be so much fun. It's just the length that like really, really scares me. Taking things out of like my mug is really fun. Okay. Okay. The next one is a genre that you don't usually read. I also had a book in mind for this one as well. Do you see me making a TBR prompt jar, but also kind of having books like in my head lined up already? Okay, so I think I know what I'm gonna do for this one as well. This is actually a book I got from the library sale that I went to probably last year in November. And I picked it up because the cover was so pretty, but also it is by a Canadian author. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's about two men or two boys who fall in love in Syria when the war is going on. So I think this is definitely going to be a heavier book, and I think that's another reason why I've put it off for a while, because I just haven't been in the mood to read like a heavy book. Let's pick one more. I don't know if we'll get to it in this video, but just for the sake of picking out prompts, because I think this is really fun. And a book by my favorite author. Okay, we can work with these. I would say that I have quite a few favorite authors. I have a couple Rebecca Yarros books that are her contemporary romances, which I really want to get into. I have a couple Elsie Silver books that I have yet to get to. But as of lately, my absolute favorite author has been Hannah Bonham Young, and that has been because I finished Out on a Limb maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago, and ever since finishing it, I have thought about that book at least once every single day. My edition of that book is so annotated, probably the most annotated ever I have had a book. So I think we'll do a Hannah book, and I think we're gonna do Next of Kin. This will be fun. I think this is a good lineup. I am about 2 days into When the Moon Hatched, and I'm quite impressed with myself because I don't even know if I'm a quarter of the way through this book yet, but I'm on page 236, and this has been like a weird reading week for me in the sense that I've been reading so much more than usual, and I think that's because I've had the whole weekend at home and I've had no plans. So I've just been reading, which has been like the best thing in the world. But in the past 2 days, Friday, Saturday, I finished a book. I've started this book and I've read almost 400 pages, which is like insane to my brain because I usually don't read that much consecutively. I think usually for a day I would be impressed if I could read a little under 100 pages. So we're making great progress, and this book actually isn't as scary as I made it out to be in my brain. Yes, it is thick. She is so thick, but it is not as crazy as I thought it would be in the sense of understanding the world and the characters and the world building. I was so scared when I saw the glossary and the pronunciation guide, but I'm not gonna lie, it's very helpful, and it kind of makes me feel like I'm in school again, because if I don't understand something, I'll just flip back to the beginning and I was like, oh, okay, this makes so much more sense. And honestly, I think that is so helpful in fantasy books, because especially the first one, when you're world building and there's so much going on and so much to remember, it's just nice to have a little reminder or like something you can flip back to help jog your memory of like what this creature is or who this character is. I feel like I'm flying through it. It is such a pain to hold though when I'm reading, and I'm reading like this. I'm like, I can't even, holding it with one hand is like a lot too. Like I usually have to hold it and support the bulk of it in my other hand. But other than that, I'm loving it. It kind of gives me like Throne of Glass vibes, and I don't know like how else to say that, just because our main character is an assassin, and I think that might be why, but two completely different concepts. Okay, I think I got to like the craziness reveal of it all, and I went into this book very blind, like I had no clue what it was about, but now I understand the concept of when the moon hatched, because it all makes sense now. I'm like, oh, this is actually like a wild concept, but like insane, like absolutely insane. The build-up and like the lore to get to this reveal, she did it so well. Oh my gosh, like this was such a great concept. I feel like it's my thing now to update you guys in bed, because I always tend to want to update people before I start reading, before I go to bed. Let's just call this Tay's late night update when she's basically 3/4 through the book already, because how many times have I been sitting in my bed and I've said, wow guys, I'm 3/4 of the way through this book, so let me update you. Rave has like a bigger part to play, and I don't know what it is. I just know that there's like something more, and then I read about it, you saw that clip, and everything kind of just fell into place, and the title makes sense now, and like all of the lore and the world building and the backstories and like everything's slowly starting to make sense, and I love when authors can do that effectively. It just like, it hits so much different. It makes the story so much more impactful to me because everything's starting to make sense and like everything's slowly coming together, and I love it so much. I get that it's more confusing in a way because you have to wait and see what happens and like how everything ties together, but when it does finally start tying together, it's just such a satisfying feeling. I also love a slight mystery in the book when you're trying to figure out like what's going on and like how all these pieces connect. And when they do start connecting, it's so satisfying, like I said, but like the little hint of like little baby mystery is just, this quote like literally, I don't know, it just like, I feel like it just solidifies her writing and like what I mean by it's so devastatingly beautiful. Like, oh my god. Chase death, moonbeam, and I pray that your bloodlust brings you the same sense of peace I feel just knowing you exist. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I honestly don't know what else there is to say about it that I already haven't said, But this ended up to be such a happy surprise because I was terrified, as you guys saw going into it, but I ended up really loving it. The plot twist at the end, it got me. It did get me. And I love when an author writes in a way that the story slowly starts to make sense the more and more you get into it. Kind of like it doesn't really make sense until it does. And a lot of times I hate going into a fantasy book and just not knowing anything, which usually tends to be the case almost every time you start a fantasy book. But sometimes you'll just stay confused. But this one you didn't. This one, all the little puzzle pieces started coming together so nicely. And then at the end, when you got the final piece, oh, it just hit so hard. And I'm so excited for the next book. But I'm pretty sure Sarah A. Parker just announced that they're pushing their release date to 2026. So I actually don't know when the next one's coming out, but this was just such a happy surprise, and I am so glad that I forced myself to pick it up because I probably would have left it on the shelf for quite a long time. Thank you to the book gods for making me read this because I enjoyed myself, I had a great time, and I have a new favorite fantasy world to obsess about. Done this book. I have really been enjoying it. I was very scared. I'm not gonna lie to you guys because I knew that this would be a heavier sort of book, and it has been. For me, anyways, it was an easy read to get through. It's not a fantasy book, if you will, but I do have some phone notes, as I always do, so let's talk about it. Both of our male main characters in this book are going through so much, and when I tell you that there is so much grief and trauma and PTSD that is packed in here. I was ready for it, but I wasn't. And it's so unfair that the circumstances that they're placed in, they have to go through these things. The author is Syrian Canadian, so I find that really fun to read both perspectives, one from Syria and Damascus, where Wasim is still living, and the second point of view is from Hassam, and he is living in Vancouver. There has been some sort of growth and healing you see throughout the book as well, which is really nice because if nothing happened and they stayed in the same circumstances, I think I'd be so sad. Did indeed end up finishing the Foghorn Echos this morning. To start off, I think I would give this book a 4.75 stars out of 5 because it just really got to me and tugged at my heartstrings, and it was just so good. I literally went crazy with my notes and all of my thoughts because I just had to take a little bit and really kind of analyze how I felt because there's a lot. I love how both of these characters had flaws, and you could tell, but they were also aware and they admitted to their faults and their shortcomings. They also actively tried to better themselves and get better, which, like, when you see the growth, it made me so proud. There is one specific scene, I think it was when Wissam started finally opening up and trusting Jamal, who was like a boy he went to school with, and now they're all grown up, and Jamal recognizes him and he's like, oh my gosh, we knew each other. Jamal kind of helps pull him out of like the darkness that he's in, and they eventually become friends. But it took a lot for Wasim to try and like put himself out there and accept someone's kindness and friendship. I also didn't realize how poetic Danny's writing was until I started probably like after I recorded that update for you guys, and I really started thinking, like reading, and I can probably insert a couple of my favorite quotes here because I did take videos of them. His writing is beautiful. There were like a couple lulls in the story, but the way that he wrote and the way that he added his little poetic elements in it really kept me intrigued, and his writing is so beautiful. That is probably why I loved it so much more than I thought as well. Just authors who have beautiful writing styles and make their writing pretty, if that makes sense. Like it hooks me and it gets me and I love it. Guys, I am so excited because we are starting Next of Kin by Hannah Bonham Young, and I've been waiting to start this one for a little bit, and I'm so glad that I picked it for this video because I think I was gonna end up reading it anyways. But can we just talk about how the dedication at the beginning of the book is for all the Jess girlies who thought Jess was the best boyfriend for Rory in Gilmore Girls, because it says this book is dedicated for those who think Jess was Rory's best boyfriend. The rest of you are wrong, which I do agree with her. I did also like Logan, but I think Jess was like my favorite out of all of them. I'm on chapter 2 so far. Not much has happened. That's such a lie. What the heck? The book literally opens up with Chloe getting a call from Child Protective Services. The agent is talking to Chloe about how her mom just had a baby and her mom wants Chloe to raise the baby, essentially. So that's how it starts off. I'm such a liar. It starts off with something going on. But as I was reading, I literally got to the line, I yelped. I was like, oh my gosh! But it said, okay, I became far less insecure about my soft-edged figure when I realized my body had evolved to hold the weight and strength because of what my Polish lineage on Connie's side had to survive. And I yelped because I was like, oh my god, Daniel's Polish, and I think I don't know, I think it's so fun. I literally texted him and I said, oh my gosh, there's a Polish character in my book. And he knows that Hannah Bonham Young is my favorite author to ever exist. So I think that'll make him really happy. But I'm so excited to read this. Like oh my god. I'm also reading at golden hour, which is so nice. For some reason today has just felt like spring. Oh my gosh, just looking out the window and it being 5:30 and there's sun outside, like it's so pretty. Oh my gosh, you guys don't even know how excited I am for spring and like the spring/summer season. I think always just coming out of winter is the best feeling. What a great time to read this book. I just finished Next of Kin this morning and I gave it a 4.75 stars out of 5. I love this so much. I didn't get the 5-star feeling like I did with Out on a Limb, but something about Hannah's writing is so comforting, and I think with all romance books I know that they're gonna end with like a happy ending, but it's just something about her books. What I've noticed from the past 2 that I've read, the epilogues have been so far into the future that it eases my mind, and I know that there will be a happy ending and everyone will be happy and it'll be rainbows and sunshines and all of that. But this book did have higher stakes than Out on a Limb, which makes sense because I think I said before it deals with some heavier topics, but I really appreciated that. And I know that this is work of fiction, but just reading it and seeing those kind of stories, I found it very intriguing. This book follows Chloe and Warren, and unfortunately Chloe's mother was not fit to take care of her, so Chloe has been in the foster care system until she was adopted by her parents, and now she is a grown-up, she is an adult, and she gets a phone call that her birth mother gave birth to another baby, so she has a sister, and her birth mother is asking her to be a next of kin guardian. So basically, since her mother is still unfit to take care of children, she's asking Chloe to be her sister's guardian. So that's stressful in itself because Chloe's only 24 years old. She's doing well for taking care of herself, but to take care of another person in general is just a whole different challenge. So that's Chloe. Let's move over to Warren, who has also been in the foster care system, and he is finally been granted next of kin guardianship to his younger brother Luke, who is I think 15 years old, and Warren and Chloe are the same age, so they're young adults. I would call them young adults, and they both have next of kin guardianship of their siblings. They don't pass their evaluations. In Chloe's position, she doesn't make enough money to pass the evaluation, and in Warren's situation, he doesn't have the right apartment or space for his brother to live in. So CPS's new program or whatever is that they connect next of kin guardians together, and they essentially have to move in together to keep guardianship of both of their siblings, and it is a forced proximity, which is really fun. My one, not even qualm, but I guess something I learned about this book is that I've mentioned before, I don't think I love Grumpy Sunshine when they're really, really grumpy, because in my head, I'm just thinking, can you please be nice? Like, it's not that hard. Like, why are you so grumpy? But then it got better, and I knew it would, but I think that's like my only thing that I learned. I'm not the biggest fan, but that's okay because it was still such a great book. Here they all are. I'm actually laughing because the size comparison of next of kin next to When the Moon Hatched, just, I don't know, it's just so tiny, little baby. But this was so much fun. I am quite pleasantly surprised that all of these books were 4 stars and above. I'm glad that we could read them together and that I found 2 really good new authors that I'm gonna try and find more of their books. I really want to find Danny's memoir because I think that would be such an amazing read. So I'm gonna look at the library and see if I can find that. But thank you guys so much for spending some time with me today. This was so much fun. I know I say that every video, but I genuinely had the best time. I think I should do more TBR takedown videos because the result of this one just amazing. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me today, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys.